Hello and welcome to February 13th, 2017. Today we are going to be working on creating our own Vincent van Gogh inspired image in Photoshop. If you recall, the images of Vincent van Gogh featured many landscapes, including bright colors and a swirling pattern. We'll be recreating this effect today in Photoshop. I've included the files for you available for download in this assignment. However, you may choose whatever photo you like so long as it is school appropriate and would also work well as a Van Gogh painting. Images such as landscapes, cathedrals, and generally the countryside work best. For my image, I happened to search for an image of Provence, Provence, which gave me an image we'll be using. Start by opening Photoshop, File, New. We're going to choose an item for print. Your screen, I am aware, looks slightly different. However, the options will be the same. We're choosing tabloid size in the landscape format, which is 17 inches wide by 11 inches high. 300 resolution as far as the pixels per inch in RGB color mode, making sure that we have selected 8-bit. Our filters will not work properly if you have not chosen 8-bit. The background contents is white. The first thing we need to do is open our file that we'll be modifying to make look more like a Vincent van Gogh image. Once you've saved the file, you can simply go to File, Place Embedded, choose wherever you've saved the file, and there we have it. I'm going to go ahead and stretch this image in order to fill the canvas. By clicking on our aspect ratio maintained, it will make sure the image does not become distorted. Click your check mark to apply the transformation. Right-click on the layer and duplicate it. Name this layer Base. Click OK. Right-click the layer once more. Rasterize the layer. Looking at this image, I can see a few things that we need to adjust right away. We need to go ahead and intensify the color of these yellows. Yours may appear slightly different on your screen. Make the adjustments that are necessary. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, and I'm going to bring my saturation up, making the tones more vibrant. I'm also going to skew our hue slightly towards the blue side in order to make the image appear more vibrant, such as Vincent van Gogh's skies. I will then click OK. I also noticed that we're missing some of the swirling patterns here in the sky that were typical of Vincent van Gogh. We'll be putting those in just a moment. Once you have your image suitably sized and any adjustments necessary made, we're going to go to Filter and Liquify. Alright, once our preview pane pops up, if yours looks slightly different, again, the important thing is to look at the functions I am using, alright, as well as the brush size and just in general how I'm warping the image. I'm going to start by making sure that I have selected on the forward warp tool. This allows us to push anything that is on the screen with a brush that comes pre-selected here. I'm going to go ahead and set my pressure to 100, size to, I'll put my size around 80, 75 will be fine. If we notice in the images of Vincent van Gogh, his trees typically have this large swirling pattern, which we can see here. So we want to make our tree look more like that. We're going to come and we're going to start pushing the branches by holding down our mouse key and simply dragging. If you notice, you should see the branches of the tree are becoming more swirling. Continue to do this. All right, I'm going to increase my brush size. I can either select on this size here in the brush tool options, or if you prefer to work faster with keyboard shortcuts, next to the letter P on your keyboard, you may simply click the right arrow bracket or left arrow bracket to increase and decrease your size. All right, this is giving me more of the effect I wanted, as Vincent van Gogh did not make smooth brush strokes, but rather complex brush strokes that were thick and heavy with impasto, a word we discussed in class. I will leave the church here primarily untouched, as he would have wanted it to remain somewhat noticeable. Next, we will go to the sky and begin swirling the clouds. Once again, I need to increase my brush size, being careful not to drag up the plants. Continuing to drag. If it doesn't look perfect, that's okay. Vincent van Gogh wouldn't have wanted it to look perfect anyway. I'm simply dragging, swirling in this kind of circular pattern here. It's fine if some of these trees come up. That would have been reminiscent of his cypress effect that he often used. Just want to see some more of this blue. It may take a little time. You can also sample a color with your paintbrush once you have this done to add it back in. I'm going to continue to bring up some of these cypress trees in the background, which of course originally started out as a different plant, but we will make them look more reminiscent of what Van Gogh would have chosen himself. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Alright, at this point in time it looks a little bit messy, but once we add our filters through our filter gallery, we should notice a distinct difference. Let's go ahead and grab our brush tool, located here, change our foreground color to an intense shade of yellow. This will work well. In our brush drop-down box, we're going to choose thick, heavy brushes. This is because that is what Vincent van Gogh would have used. I'm choosing brush 104. Once again, I'm going to increase the size. We're going to put a nice sun in the sky. I'll do it here. Make sure your opacity is set all the way up to 100 or you'll get the effect I just did. Alright. Reduce the brush size by either selecting on your keypad or going here and adjusting the size. I'm going to add a couple more of these yellow swirls into the sky, as they would have been common in his paintings. Next up, I'm going to go to Filter, Filter Gallery. And we're going to apply the glass function. That is under Distort. So we're going to take the glass and we'll bring it up to about a 10. Let's do a little less. Let's do an 8. Again, you may need to modify the variables based on your own preferences and the image you select. I want to make mine a little bit smoother. The texture will be on canvas. If we notice with the scaling, the larger we go in scale, the more diffuse the painting is. Let me take off both of these effects. Just delete those. Yours should not have that. All right, I'm going to go ahead at this point in time and I'm going to click on OK. You now have an image that looks like this. Just looking at this, I can see a couple of areas where I can go back to my brush, choose a color. We know that Vincent van Gogh used a lot of these greens. I'm going to choose a smaller brush, and in my case, I'm going to choose a hard round brush. Basic brushes. Click OK. This will work well. Brush number 32. 100% opacity. Let's just add some more of that color in. Go back to my liquefy function. And swirl it around in my tree. Okay. Let's go ahead at this point in time and go back to our filters again. This time we're going to go to Stylize, Oil Paint. By clicking on my screen here, I can go ahead and see the way the image will look, generally speaking. All right, let's zoom in. I may need to adjust those. Yeah, I will need to adjust these. All right. Drag the options to where you feel is most appropriate, setting the angle similar to that of the sun, and click on OK. All right, we now have a fairly decent looking image here. This is why the importance of making sure we do not delete layers. Let me get rid of this background layer here. We're going to go ahead and copy my tree by using, the lasso tool, because I don't like the way that liquefy effect turned out. So I simply select this, edit, copy, go back to my base layer, edit, paste. There we go. Drag out my corners if I need to make it more in tune with the rest of the painting. All right. This is giving us a fairly good effect so far. However, I think the oil paint needs to be slightly more muddled. Let's go back to our filters and our oil paint once more. Oh. Making sure we have the entire image selected. Should be on base. Filter. Stylize. Oil paint. Let's turn the stylization up a little bit. Cleanliness down. Scale up and turn our bristle detail up. Turn our shine down to about 1.5 and click OK. Yes, I'm liking that much better. All right, at this point in time, the painting is looking pretty good. I will want to go ahead, however, and add another layer to make this look a little more authentic. I can do that simply by adding another layer, making sure it's on the very top. This layer we are going to call Canvas. On this layer, I'm going to select my dark edged paper. I'll provide this image for you. or you should already have it from your last project that we did with our daguerreotypes. Once again, I'm going to bring down the corners here, bring the corners over here, making sure that the dark edges are lining up. The watermark will be removed at the time that you have the image, and click my check mark. Now I'm going to rasterize the image. Right click and just simply rasterize the layer, and make sure that we are set to the default options of black and white on our color picker. I'm now going to select the layer mask. All right. We want the entire layer mask, however, to be black. Let me grab my fill. All right, we notice the entire layer here now is black. However, we want to bring some of this aged canvas effect around the edges. So now, painting with the color white, in your hexadecimal color picker, that's FFF, FFF, making sure it's our foreground color. Pick a brush. I'm going to check dry media brushes. That should work fine. Let's see. We want something with a random effect. This one should work well. Let's double check that. Yeah, clicking along the edges, leaving some areas untouched. We're going to expose some of the canvas. Remember, clicking and letting go allows us just to see a faint hint of age. Let's take a little off this corner and a little along the bottom. All right, go ahead and feel free to achieve whatever results you want with the image that you're using. Again, many images will work well for this. Provence is one that I happen to choose, but simply look at the images that Van Gogh has chosen. Any of these will work. Cypress trees, irises, sunflowers were another one of his favorites. Olive trees, those will all work well, as well as scenes of cafes and French-looking destinations. Once you have this all chosen, and you're happy with the effect, simply press Control Alt Shift E on your keyboard. This will create a duplicated layer here that shows the entire image. Right click it, export it as a JPEG, export all. Call your image Van Gogh 1, export it to your documents, and simply upload and attach the file in Edmodo. If you are completed with one, please move on and complete another image labeling it Van Gogh 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. Have a good day. Thanks.